Hey everyone, Roxabox90 here with a really exciting spoiler video. So for those who remember, I spoiled and discussed the Heroes vs. Monsters dual decks. So now we have in full the full deck lists for both decks, which is really exciting because within both decks we have 6 Theros cards, which are spoilers because Theros has not arrived yet. And in fact, spoiler season for Theros hasn't started yet. So what do we have? We have 3 in each deck, I believe. We have Annex and Cymede and Polakronos World Eater. So before we get to those are 2 cards we've already seen before. Annex and Cymede are the Boros card that we've been talking about and trying to figure out if it's real or not. So first off, yes, it's real. But let's first talk about the names just because I like flavor and I like talking about flavor every once in a while, especially with Theros where it's all about a top-down design, very much about flavor. So Annex from Greek mythology was a giant, or is a giant. It was a giant from Greek mythology and was the descendant of Uranus and Gaia, which were 2 of the ancient entities, founders of the universe. And is a giant, so we have Annex here. Cymede is a bit of a dilemma because I've never heard of Cymede, even though I've studied Greek mythology in college. I've never heard of her. I've heard of Ganymede, but Ganymede's a male, the most pretty or gorgeous male figure in Greek mythology to the point where Zeus is in love with him or connected to him. She's a woman, so it's not Ganymede. So it might just be a person or entity made up for Theros, which could very well be. We don't know a lot of the detailed story arc of Theros, so we don't know yet which characters are important, which characters interact, and who's connected to Greek mythology. But we do know that Annex is a giant from Greek mythology, which is really cool. It's ironic because he's a giant, and yet he's a 3/2 for 3, which is kind of funny. So it's a legendary creature, human soldier, which is kind of weird because you have Annex and Cymede, so you have both of them, and it's a human soldier, which is a singular entity. So that just kind of is weird. It's necessary because you can't have human soldiers, but you understand it feels kind of strange. You have 2 in 1 card. They could have just done like legendary creature human or something, and they're both human. But the thing is, he's a giant, so I don't know. Whatever. It's confusing. So 3 for a 3/2, first strike vigilance, which we already said is totally cool and totally fine within colors. In fact, would be fantastic as as an uncommon drop. Would be a fantastic uncommon. Even if they didn't have heroic, which we've talked about, is the ability for heroes. Whenever you cast the spell that targets it, then creatures you control get 1/1 and trample. So apparently the trample is confirmed, which irritates me because it doesn't feel like it fits red and white. If you're putting red and white together, haste is definitely the color fit. So I don't know, maybe because they playtested it, they didn't like it, but that just feels wrong to me personally. And I mean, just thinking of like, I think what's it called, Flamekins is a lot or whatever, the old card from Ravnica that also gives creatures you control +1 and haste, and it's a red-white card. So it just feels out of place. But otherwise, it's a fantastic card. You're going to see tons of, it's going to be a grab and limited. It's going to be probably constructed viable, if not outright constructed playable. Very, very cool card. Awesome. Cavalry Pegasus is 2 for 1/1 flying. Whenever it attacks, each attacking human gains flying, because the heroic deck obviously is going to have humans in it because heroes tend to be humans. So that's interesting. And again, it might tie in, some of these cards could potentially be used for human decks, but we shall see if the deck lists are any good in themselves. We'll get there quickly. Ordeal of Porphyros. Porphyros, I don't know from Greek mythology myself or anything from Roman mythology. If someone knows Porphyros, let me know. It's an aura for 2, which again, we're going to see auras. Whenever a Tanta creature attacks, put a 1/1 counter on it. Then if it has 3 or more, you sacrifice Ordeal of Porphyros. When you sacrifice it, it deals 3 damage to our creature or player. So it's kind of a weird incinerate. I don't like it that it's time-based. It's cool for casual players, and it probably fits into the deck theme, but it's not too overly fabulous for it might be pretty good and limited, but it's not going to be constructed viable. Onto the monsters. Polakronos we talked about already. This is the final formal ability. So Monstrosity X. If this creature isn't monstrous, put X 1/1 counters on it. And so that's the formal wording. It becomes monstrous. And then it divides damage. As you choose among enemy or target creatures your opponents control, each of those creatures deals damage back to it, which again, we've talked about this wording. It's a little bit more fair, and it still is really, really cool card. The hero, this is a legendary creature, but it's a rare. The mythic is Sun Titan, which we've talked about in the past. That was the first card we spoiled from the set. And I don't know if Sun Titan versus Polakranos, I don't know if they're exactly equal, but Sun Titan's like a total reprint. But, you know, that's kind of a little one-sided. And I don't know if Sun Titan's quite as good as Polakranos is in terms of this build, but still, I'm sure that that it's, you know, they balanced it fairly well. But we'll see if that's true. We're going to get to the deck list in a minute. Satyr Hedonist, 2 for a 2/1. It's a Satyr, which we've talked about is going to be replacing elves, both satyrs and I think nymphs. But it's 1 red, sacrifice it, add 3 red to your mana pool, which is fine. It's not great. It's kind of like a dark ritual or a red ritual that involves a you play a creature first. So that could be good in a, you know, when you need the mana to quickly get up, you know, ramp up, but it's a little bit expensive. Again, it's not going to be, I don't think this is going to be constructed viable. I just don't think it's quite good enough. I mean, it could ramp you up from from having 3 mana in play to then having 6 for a turn, or 5 because you have to pay 1 down. But, you know, it could be, I really don't know if it's any good or not. I don't think it's that good. Destructive Revelry is 2, 1 green and 1 red for an instant, destroy an artifact or enchantment, and it deals 2 damage to that creature's controller. It's kind of like a shock and then a cheaper naturalize in 1, which is kind of neat if you think about the costs, because it makes the destroy target artifact or enchantment cheaper. But of course, because it's gruel colored, you need to have both colors. I still think that's pretty solid. Definitely viable as a sideboard card for constructed. Anyway, those are the 6 new cards. Let's get on to the reprints. We have 4 of them. Miraculous Recovery is a very old card, but it's freaking awesome, and especially in EDH, guys. So new art, it's awesome. 5, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield, put a 1/1 counter on it. It's instant speed though, which is the important thing. So you get a creature back from your graveyard for 5, but he gets 1/1 counter on it. Very, very solid EDH. Instant speed is really important. Fires Yavimaya, I don't like the art as much as the original, and it is definitely not going to see print in Theros itself, just because Yavimaya is not part of the Theros plane. So 3, creatures you control have haste, sack it, target creature gets 2/2 until end of turn. It's a very, very solid card for giving haste, especially if you're running some form of Ultra in general. Think of Seaton, the Trample General, who is gruel colored. So giving, playing this and then laying him turn 4 with haste, it's pretty solid. Beast Within, reprinted, new art, which I really don't like at all. I think the old art is just so much better. But it's a reprint, and Beast Within's a fabulous card. We all know it. Griffin Guide with gorgeous new art. Whoa, this is amazing. I would probably get a foil of these if I could. I don't know if they're going to make this, but this is a card I think that could see actual reprint in Theros, just because I've talked about it before, and I think it's a really solid limited card, and it just works really well with the aura, because when an enchanted creature dies, you get a Griffin out of that, and the art is gorgeous. I really hope they print this in Theros with this art, because getting a foil one of these would be a top priority for me. Gorgeous, gorgeous. Okay, so yeah, I don't think Fires Yavimaya would see print in Theros. I don't think Beast Within would either, but Miraculous Recovery and Griffin Guide could very well see print in Theros itself. We shall see. And then we have the full deck lists, which I'm just going to breeze through. You guys can look at them yourselves. From my perspective, I haven't played with them, so I can't really give you, if they're balanced out or not. From what I see in terms of value, you're not really, unless Polakranos is going to be very valuable, I don't think you're exactly getting so much value out of here. I mean, you get Kamal Pit Fighter, Noblest of War, Sun Titan, and seeing anybody else. Annex and Simon could very well be valuable if they see constructed play, but other than that, I'm just looking at anything of value in here. I'm not seeing a lot of value. And then here we have Manticore, Gorkland Savage, we know, Kavu Predator. I'm not seeing tremendous value. Troll Ascetic sees some play. Beast Within, yeah. I'm not seeing a tremendous amount of value, but then again, keep in mind that these sets are $20. So, you'd be getting a Suntitan, Annex, Siamede, Pulak, Renos, and getting some very, very solid uncommons. And in fact, and just getting the 2 decks. So as a gift, it seems really, really solid. The decks themselves, supposedly, according to Wizards, if you go to the main article on their site, they said that they seem to be more balanced, although one person seemed to win more often, but they are more balanced than the Sauron versus Tibalt decks, which was just sad. They were not at all equal in any way, shape, or form. So these seem a little more balanced. I like that they're tying into they're bringing these dual decks in, tying into Theros. It fits into the theme. Hopefully, these are 6 new cards we'll see in Theros. Hopefully, maybe some of these reprints we can also see in Theros. That would be nice. And otherwise, give me your thoughts on the deck lists below in the comments section. You can check out the link at the Wizards official site here in order to make those comments if you have the desire to. As well, check out my channel sponsors in the description of the video, along with all the links to the information for this video. And as always, Roxybox90 signing out. I'll see you guys next time.